Now, one, of course, is the legal aspect that we have been talking about. The other is the more fundamental aspect of where India stands vis-a-vis its relation with the hijab. Remember, it is not illegal, it is not outlawed, but is it aspirational for women in the country? This is a civilizational debate that many countries world over have had. It's happened in the UK, it's happened in France, it's happened in the European Union. America is still grappling where it stands vis-a-vis feminism and hijab, which is why the effort here is also to try to get to the bottom of that question. 21st century India and the face veil, not just the hijab, but also the parda. That's why we're getting to you two voices, Javed Beigh, General Secretary of the People Democratic Front and a writer, and Monica Verma, who's a PhD in International Relations at the Department of International Relations, South Asian University. Javed Beigh, I want to start with you because you've made a very interesting point about how the rest of India can learn lessons from how Kashmir has had a relationship with the hijab. What did you mean by that?
Thank you so much for bringing me in this show. For me, this hijab show, as somebody who is representing a party or somebody who is from a particular community, it shouldn't be a point of discussion or point of debate. This hijab, these daughters of our country are trying to portray in Karnataka is not a dress code of Islam. First of all, I have studied Islam. I practice Islam as a good Muslim, but this hijab, the hijab these daughters of country are trying to portray or trying to impose is not what Islam has given as a dress code. In our country, there are different cultures. I'm not talking about religions, different cultures who have actually influenced these dress codes. This, hijab, or I don't call it hijab, this is a different kind of dress, which is actually borrowed from some other country. It has nothing to do with Islam. Islam does not define this hijab as a dress code. There is a different dress code what we have to wear. But of late, we have seen in many other countries, in some parts of our country, this kind of dress code is being, I'm using this word, forced. It was forced in Kashmir, in last 30 years. But Kashmir has rejected it. You might have seen a daughter who topped 10+2 examination across Jammu and Kashmir. She was trolled. She was slut-shamed by those people who are actually advocating choice of dress, for the daughters of Karnataka. They are the people who named and shamed that girl. Her name is Arusa Parvez. She was seen giving interviews without hijab. Some people across Jammu and Kashmir, they trolled her. They are the people, they are, advocating this dress code for the girls of Karnataka. So Muslim community is divided on this.
You in fact in a piece actually said that women in Kashmir suffered because of this orthodox practice of hijab which was thrust on them in the 90s.
I'm trying to go there.
Yes.
It was forced in Kashmir during 90s. Some girls, they were even tortured. They were threatened, and some of them were even hurt during that most dark times of Kashmir. Now Kashmiri girls have chosen their dress code, and we have recently seen Arusa coming up as a brave girl. She has her life. When we talk about girls of Karnataka, as a Kashmiri, I support every choice our women make, whatever it is, but it should not be imposed. There are some political parties, they have started playing dirty politics on this issue. No, if we join some institution, we have to follow rules and regulations of that institution.
Okay.
This college has their dress code. as a citizen of this country, I would follow that dress code. Rather, I will enjoy that dress code. These daughters should have followed the dress code.
Let me bring in Monica Verma as well. You've made a comparison, in fact, between what happened in Iran and in Saudi Arabia, more specifically, why women in Saudi Arabia decided to throw down their hijab or niqab. What were they protesting against?
Yes,
Monica, that's for Monica. Javed Saab, that's for Monica, yes.
I think, surprisingly, I have written a piece on it, and globally, if you follow whatever is happening with regards to feminism and the ideas of modesty, there is a lot of change taking place even in the so-called Islamic societies. So if you pick the example of Iran, or you look at Saudi Arabia, if you look at the niqab under my foot movement that took place in Saudi Arabia, or you look at what happened in Iran between 2017 to 2019, what you really see is that, women are coming out and protesting against the compulsion of wearing a headscarf. So headscarf in the case of Iran, and niqab which just covers your face in the case of Saudi Arabia. And they also protested against the this entire costume that you have to wear, which is known as the abaya. So the entire idea is not about just hijab or about this costume. It's about the kind of freedom that these women get to pursue their own goals. And when I say goals, these are professional goals, education, the very right to just step out of your house without a male companion, having a free life, getting to just, see the world from your own two eyes and not being shut inside your houses. So I think this became a great symbol of, Iran coming out of its own, and many scholars and many analysts actually, predicted that probably this hijab movement, this anti-hijab protest are going to grow into something more serious, and probably it's going to be the catalyst for some, revolution, some other type of revolution in Iran, where finally there would be, freedom for women as well, and all the regressive Islamic practices will finally be done away with. But nothing like that happened. And, contrasting that with what's happening in India right now, just because we are a secular country and we have a, ongoing debate about what kind of religious freedoms, the minorities enjoy, I think it's very, very surprising and shocking, to say the least, that, women are trying to assert their right to wear hijab, but they think that by doing this, they are fighting for their religious freedom. Because as far as the example of Iran shows us, it's not going to be about, it's not definitely going to be about your religious freedom. It's going to take away freedom of all kinds. Hijab is just the beginning of the end of everything that you enjoy in a secular, liberal, democratic country like India.
Interesting. Whereas it is being projected as freedom to wear what you want, you are saying that it's the exact opposite. It's the beginning of the end of freedoms of all kind. Javed Beigh, more specifically, since you took examples from Kashmir, you spoke of generally how women, say, of the Pasmanda caste or different Muslim women were dressed in Kashmir, and how that changed over time when orthodoxy was forced on them. Describe that to us.
The codes are only meant for when we look.
Okay, can we just fix that connection with Javed Beigh? Coming back to you again, Monica, it is ironic that when women in Iran spoke out, they thought that they were speaking for freedom. You said that it started with a movement for freedom, but it didn't end well. What is it you meant by that?
Things have to go back to, we have to go back to history to understand this. Let's go back to 1979. There was a revolution brewing, women were protesting against the Shah Pahlavi regime, and they were trying to, in fact, even the most liberal women who did not believe in the idea of hijab, they were, starting to wear hijab in order to protest against the Pahlavi government. And they were trying to, just use hijab as a moment to register their protest against one particular type of regime. But unfortunately, that is the time when Islamic regime and Ayatollah Khomeini, he came into power. And that's when, things really took a very interesting turn, that something that they were wearing just to register their protest became a compulsion. So in 1936, there was an order by Reza Shah Pahlavi that, all kinds of Islamic veils will now be banned. He, in fact, wanted the Iranian society to amalgamate with the more, modern and more acceptable ways of living. And he also ended up banning not just the veils for women, but he also ended up banning a lot of clothes that were considered very regressive for males as well.
Yes.
And cut to, 1979, that women were taking out protests wearing hijab. All these liberal women, they were doing it just to register their protest against that regime. But what to follow was an Islamic revolution. And then comes into picture Ayatollah Khamenei. And what we really see is that, he's given a diktat. He's literally told everyone that from now onwards, your hijab is going to be compulsory.
Well, absolutely,
So,
which is why it is said, be very, very careful what you wish for. It may be politically driven. It may be by people who are telling you that this is all about your religious identity. Who stands to lose in the end? And that's the basic question we keep going back to. For the time being, thank you very much, Monica Verma, Javed Beigh, for having joined us. The effort, as always, is to bring out sane voices on what the whole issue of hijab is about from a 360-degree perspective. Thanks for watching.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.